Hello YouTube, N64 here, I'm back. Thanks for tuning in again as always, it is very much appreciated. We're finally here, episode 10 of Mission N64 239, Pilotwings 64 then. Yeah, this is an interesting title really. It was a launch title on the Nintendo 64, along with Super Mario 64. Came out in 1996, 29 years ago now. And yeah, has it stood the test of time or not? Let's find out, we'll get straight into it pretty much. But yeah, pleased to have this nice condition black border copy in my collection. It's what released over here in the UK. Pretty lovely condition. I'll be playing it on the EverDrive because I don't really want to open that one up. And yeah, before we get into it, let's just see what the magazine says. I like to check the N64 ratings for the games in here. It just gives you an idea of what you're in for. Pilotwings 64, 89%. A supreme example of how to harness the N64's immense potential. Absolutely stunning visuals. Yeah, so I have played this game before. I had some fun on it with some friends back in the day. We thought we'd have a little playthrough and give our opinions on it. And yeah, we got through several of the levels, I think, but I never fully completed it. I was actually surprised that when I beat this game, there was actually some bonus material I didn't even know about as well. So that was cool to see. So without further ado, then let's get into it and see if it's worth that 89% rating that the magazine has given it. Voiceover N64 here, I'm back. Pilotwings 64 then, it's a flight simulation game developed and published by Nintendo with some dev input from Paradigm Simulation. It was a release title in September 1996 in North America, eventually releasing in Europe in March of '97. It is a solo player game and the three primary flight simulations in the main game, which are hand gliding, jetpack and the gyrocopter. Once all three of these have been completed on all classes within the matrix shown on silver or greater, this then unlocks some bonus content of human cannonball, skydiving and jumble hopper, and once all of those have been beaten on classes to a silver grade or better, you can unlock Birdman, which allows you to fly freely around all four islands which the game is based around. So to begin, let's see some coverage of the beginner hand gliding level. This is a very basic introductory level to get you familiar with the controls and the theme of the hand gliding levels, using hot air currents to gain altitude, flying through ringed checkpoints, and perfect landing in terms of both accuracy, as in on target, and smoothness thereof. The handling is fairly easy and simple, but the landing can be more challenging. My initial thoughts are that the game is fun, the background music is very mellow and relaxing, but as the game went on, some frustration did come in when the simulations got more challenging. You are scored based on certain aspects to each level, and the breakdown of this can be found on the summary screen before starting a level, and indeed on the scoring at the end. Each level across each flight simulation you are scored for different things, from making it from A to B, quality of photographs taken, flying through hoops, popping balloons, moving balloons, defeating bosses, and of course landing accuracy and impact. Next we move on to a higher class of hand gliding where 2 photographs need to be taken and you are basically scored on the quality of those, and you need to exploit currents in the air to ensure sufficient altitude is maintained in order to navigate across the map in order to do those. Pilotwings 64 is actually a sequel to a SNES game, Pilotwings. It sold over 1 million units worldwide by early 1998, so it's strange it did not make it to the Player's Choice or Platinum range. Clearly not all titles did make the range, including the system's second highest seller, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Going back to the hand gliding though, after getting a successful photo of the fountain, we are looking to bank around and aim for a smooth landing on the pad that you can see, the target. On this run I scored low for the quality of my photos, but even worse, my landing impact was alleged to be abrupt. It was quite a common theme for me on the hand gliding levels. Always found it difficult to land smoothly. It's quite useful to look at the breakdown of your score here. As you can see, yeah, I lost a lot of points on the quality of my photos and 50% of the available points for my landing impact, so that needs to be improved. I'll just show one more hand gliding level now, and I like this one. It's at night, so it provides a lovely backdrop with the moon and the stars, and there's some nice animations. A passing ship and a launching rocket into the sky, which you're required to take photographs, and you are scored on the quality of those. It showed very early on what the Nintendo 64 would bring to the table in a new era of 3D gaming. Visually I was very impressed by the game, and as a 3D, free roaming game goes, it is very fun, and I can only imagine at the time felt very groundbreaking, sadly being dwarfed by Nintendo's flagship IP, Super Mario 64. Here I am just heading into the harbour area trying to get a picture, photograph of the ship. It's a moving target, so it makes it a little more troublesome. I don't think I scored very well on this attempt, I think because it's not that big in the photo. I think the trick is to glide by closer and get a larger photograph of the ship. You can change your camera angles on all levels, on all things that you're driving, whether it's the gyrocopter, the hand glider, or the jetpack, and that just helps in certain situations to see things from another point of view really. particularly with a jetpack. A bird's eye view helps when you're trying to land on a target, and yeah, it's good to be able to do that really, to change up the angles. Here we are approaching a rocket about to launch, and it was proved optimal to get a photo of it high in the sky rather than just as it's taking off, I found. And again, just good quality animations really for a very early Nintendo 64 game. I was really impressed really, and it was very enjoyable. Here we're approaching the land pad, over 3 minutes invested into the level, only to be totally owned on the drop. And this is where the frustration could creep in at times. On reflection, my photographs were poor anyway, so improvements were required all round. But yeah, to lose it at the last like that, painfully frustrating. Moving on to the jetpacking, I had a lot of fun with these, possibly my favourite out of the three flying simulations. I'll skip right into the pilot class, the only pilot class I managed to score a gold on instantly. This level is the first of 3 which make up the whole class, which is the case for all classes below beginner, therefore making the game a lot deeper in terms of level content than the initial matrix I showed you suggests. But back to the jetpacking. This level required navigating a cave system with a 2-point penalty for each time a wall was hit, an instant fail if you fall into the water. It took me a while to discover this annoyingly, but the secret hack is to use the Z button, the trigger, which allows you to hover on the spot. Not only that, it acts as a braking mechanism also. You're encouraged to speedrun both for points scored, but also because you're depleting fuel. You also need to make use of the C buttons to manipulate the camera angle and allow you to navigate certain passages and ultimately make it to the end of the cave. The handling of the jetpacks was really enjoyable and genuinely is a nice touch to the game. So here I am, aiming to complete the level for filming purposes, and you can see on this run I copped a heavy deduction in terms of penalties for hitting the walls, but time-wise, I was on the money and I ended up scoring 100 out of 100 in terms of time on this level. But yes, you have to be a bit more careful on your way through the cave system really in order to get a perfect score, or 90 for gold on this sub-level. Another jetpacking level in the pilot class involved needing to push a balloon ball from A to B, which sounds very simple, but it was quite fun. Not easy as you might expect. It does get more problematic if you lose momentum and let the ball descend. My top tip would be to keep it in the air above you as long as you can, and try and keep volleying it for as long as possible. It's a lot easier to get the distance you want while you keep it in the air. And yeah, on this run I started well, but sadly messed up, and it gets quite fiddly, as you can see, once the ball goes to ground, and then you're against the clock really to try and get it into the zoned area as fast as possible, because you're largely scored on your time. Well, 100% of the score on this course is allocated to time really. There are also penalties for hitting the floor and so on, so really you want a clean sweep and try and make it all the way across, keeping the ball in the air really for an optimal result. And that's clearly demonstrated now because I get the ball in to the zone under 3 minutes, and I've only got about 2/3 of the points available, so nowhere near the required level really to be hitting gold. So yes, need to improve massively to get the time down on that, which I later did. Moving on to the last type of level for the jetpacks, these involve landing on a series of pads in order, again against the clock and fuel. You need to land on each smoothly to avoid points deduction. You need a smooth landing, of course. And as with all jetpacking levels, I enjoyed this one very much. You also finish on the level by landing on the target as well. So just, yeah, high attention to detail, accuracy, and yeah, just patience really. You've got to be fast, but also patient on the drop and make sure you don't lose points. And it's just a fun game. It's a beautiful backdrop level here, you know, weaving through waterfalls and just enjoying the scenery on this island. Lovely weather, and yeah, just good visuals really for the time. And I really appreciate this level for what it is, you know, nice bright colours and just pure exploration really into a 3D environment. Moving on then, the gyrocopter. Again, these are so much fun. I'll dive straight into the pilot class again, and here yet again the visuals are solid, the backdrop is awesome, just this night theme, and then we've got snow to deal with as well. As with the jetpacks, the gyrocopters consume fuel, so you need to keep watch of the fuel bar at the bottom of the screen. This more basic target requires you to fly from A to B, hitting as many targets as possible in the quickest time. Certain targets are mandatory, whereas some that move are essentially bonus points. They're not essential. Generally, I thought the gyrocopters were great to fly. They handle really well. But sometimes I felt they would not bank as much as I would like. And I genuinely felt like I was going to snap the N64 controller thumbstick at times due to the pressure that I was applying. Do not be fooled how easy the footage makes it look, guys, either. It wasn't always that smooth sailing, and no matter how well the run has gone, as with all gyrocopter levels, you are scored on landing, accuracy and impact, and all can go south at the last. Wind considerations need to be made when making your landing and when you're flying, and this is not always easy. And here I score really highly, but my landing accuracy, which again is where I lose points, and it becomes quite frustrating really, and that's where the frustration can come in. You can have a near perfect run and then you just mess it all up at the last as you're coming into land, and you're gonna have to do the whole level all over again. Not only that, there's no guarantee you'll do the level as perfect. On reflection of this time round, I didn't take enough account of that southwesterly wind, and it's had a bit of drag and skewed me off centre, and that's why I've received the points deduction that I have. So yes, landing accuracy has been severely hampered there. Everything else was pretty good. And I've still got a silver grade for that score, but yeah, some way off getting gold for that. Just to say, the scoring system is pretty unforgiving. It's 90 out of 100 to get gold, 80 out of 100 for silver, and 70 out of 100 for bronze. And essentially an average of those where the class is made up of sub-levels, usually 3. This is the case for all flight simulations. So yeah, it's quite challenging, but you have to appreciate this game was made in a time when it was designed to be a bit more challenging. This gyrocopter level that you're watching now is pretty awesome and involves popping 20 out of 30 balloons before coming into land. Again, you're scored on time taken and your landing accuracy. Balloons can be popped by either hitting them or using missiles, which is fun, and I found it optimal to do a combination of this. And yeah, this takes us into the last gyrocopter level, where you need to use missiles to defeat a boss. And this one was the most challenging out of the bosses that you have to beat in the gyrocopter, because it moves around an awful lot and you've got to be clinical when he does stay stationary. The longer you take, obviously you lose points, the longer you take to defeat him. So you have to be very clinical when he does stop and make sure you hit him. But yeah, I thought that this added a new dimension to the game and it made it fun. And it made it a bit like Lylat Wars, but taking it off rails and into full 3D exploration mode. Bearing in mind Lylat Wars wasn't even out at this point. It was just, yeah, kind of like a magnificent bit of gameplay really, and very fun, really enjoyable. The gyrocopter all in all, but specifically this as well, yeah. Really loved the gyrocopter levels, so much fun, but painfully frustrating when you can do really well and then mess it up at the last. Actually, this time round when I was filming, I actually did everything well, perfect landing, perfect score, albeit the time I took 4 minutes 30 there, too long, far too long. And other times when I did it rapidly, I'd mess up the landing, and that's where the frustration comes in really. So yeah, once you've beaten the game on silver or above, this takes you to some bonus content, the first of which is the human cannonball, being scored based on targets, aiming for a bullseye, and yeah, having to decide variables such as power, wind, distance, and how you will make your shot based on those things. It is not as easy as it looks, particularly later classes where you cannot even see the target you're aiming for. Each class is made up of 4 targets, and you have to have 3 attempts at each. Your best score of each is then used, and yeah, your final score is based on an average, and yeah, you want to be averaging across all of them 90 for gold, 80 for silver, and 70 for bronze essentially. The more difficult classes become frustrating, and I did have to turn to YouTube. Hence I miraculously got a gold for the most difficult cannonball class. I guess you can appreciate the games back then were not designed to be super easy, as I've already sort of touched on. But yeah, one thing I was pleasantly surprised with was the sort of amount of extra content there is really. There's not many games out there that when you fully complete them, they sort of have so much extra content really when you think about it. It's quite neat to have these extra games in really, and in looking up how to beat that hardest difficulty, the 3rd level class on YouTube, I was just reading through some of the comments, and so many people were like, oh, I used to love this cannonball Human Cannibal game back in the day, and it's just neat really, because when you think about it, it's only added content, it's not part of the main game. But yeah, here's me missing this target consecutively, and I only just about hit it on my last shot there, so that's where I was let down on this time round. But maybe I can go back and try and get a gold on this. I think it's very doable, but I just found, like, towards the end of the game, when we were getting to this extra content, I just wanted to just get the game finished at this point. So although it's good to have this extra content in there, it's great in terms of me and my current situation. It's just about wanting to get the game completed really. So I'm sort of happy with silvers across the board and golds where possible. And like I said, one day I might try and go for golds, but I'm not sure when that's going to be really. For now, I just need to move on. But this is going on to one of the other levels now, the skydive. And this was fun as well. You have to sort of get into these positions. There's 5 positions that you need to get into formation before you lose altitude and get to a certain level above sea level. I think it's 1,000 meters. You need to get the 5 positions in, and the positions get a lot harder. You have to do a lot more rotating to get into the new position. So the further up the levels you go, it does get more difficult. And then you have to land. You have to pull your parachute and land on the pad, and it's so you'll see in a minute, it's so unrealistic the way you have to land. You have to, rather than pull your parachute and sort of gradually float down and land on the target, which is what I thought you had to do initially. No, it's nothing like that. You have to go down full pelt and then pull your ripcord literally right at the last second and then land on the pad. But in real life, that is just not going to work, is it really? You're just going to end up breaking your legs and probably dying. Look at that. But apparently all was okay. And on the back of that, I think I just about got a gold grade for that. And you just think, if you're pulling your parachute cord that late, it's really not going to work. But yeah, it's still a fun game, and conceptually fun to have the skydive in there as well, really. And that takes us into the last sort of bonus game, really, the Jumble Hopper. And yeah, this is really fun. I got a gold grade on all levels of this. And the key is to use the A button to maximise your altitude in terms of jumping. Certainly in the later levels, this is the first one, where you have to jump over the mountains and stuff in the on the different islands. But yeah, you get a 2 points deduction for when you land in water, which I just did then. But it's all about time on this, really. I could afford to take that 2 point deduction as long as I do it in sub half a minute. That should still be ample. Well, silver grade in that case, but my best was 92, as you can see. But yeah, as I say, I was really happy with these extra bonus games, and I'm really happy with silver or above, really. This whole Mission N64 239 thing, I said I'd be completing it on a medium difficulty, and silver certainly can be considered doing that. And in doing all those bonus levels on silver or above, you unlock this mode now, which I'm showing you, which is Birdman mode, and you can just essentially fly around the 4 islands, free as a bird, full exploration. Just just great to explore these 3D worlds without a time constraint on them. And I think there is some little areas to explore, and you can take photographs for your photo album and so on, and it's just a nice way to end the game, really. And you know, you can visit places that are familiar to you, and you can see sub-levels on the same island and how the whole island comes together and connects all as one. And it's just nice to see in its entirety, really. It really is a breath of fresh air, really, just to end the game, really. And again, just a nice feature to add. And look at these stunning visuals. You know, this was a very early Nintendo 64 game. This came out in 1996, guys. It's 29 years old, and it's actually visually one of the really nice looking games on the Nintendo 64. It's crazy, really. And yeah, here we're just going into the final credits. Really happy to have crossed another Nintendo 64 game off. That's 10 now that we've completed on Mission N64 239. That's me just saying that, yeah, It's tough on the thumbsticks, really. So that is it, guys. Pilotwings 64 is now fully complete. I'm absolutely delighted to finally finish this game. It's a first-party title, such an iconic title on the N64. So to finally have beaten that as an N64 enthusiast, it's nice to be finally able to tick that one off. No, I haven't got gold on absolutely everything, although I got more golds than I did silver, I believe. I may go back one day and try and cross all those off and get golds on the remaining ones, but time is money, and at the moment I'm keen to move on to the next game. So in terms of ratings, yes, the magazine gave it 89%. I was really happy with the game. I thought it was painfully frustrating at times, but I did learn that once you get the hang of the certain control systems, it's actually not that difficult, but in terms of to learn what you need to do, it's not that easy, it's not that intuitive. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. I think it's a very good game, but it was painfully frustrating at times, and it remains that way. You can have a perfect run through on a level, and if you mess up your landing, you've wasted 4 or 5 minutes potentially on some of the levels. It's quite frustrating to go back and do it again. The replayability is certainly there. We have to go back and keep getting the best grades and even go for a full score. You have to appreciate this game was made in a time when games were meant to be more difficult. They were meant to be there to last and not to be completed very easily and put down and thrown away. They were there to be, you know, played and played and played, and that game definitely is that. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a very solid game. Thoroughly enjoyed my time playing it, though a tad frustrating at times. So yes, what's next to the channel then? The next episode of Mission N64 239. A while ago we had some comments saying Banjo-Kazooie, they would like to see me bring that to the channel. So that's what we're going to do. Episode 11 of Mission N64 239, Banjo-Kazooie. I'm really looking forward to this one because it's one that I've not completed before. I know, roast away in the comments. So yeah, it's about time that I played that game. I have played it before, but it's about time I played that game and finally beat it and gave it the time it deserves. I'm pleased to be able to bring this to the channel because I'm not wearing nostalgia goggles here. I'm not going to be biased about what I think the game's like. From memory, it is a fun game, so there are going to be some positives there, obviously, but yeah, I won't be biased and say this is the best game ever if I don't believe it is. But I like the N64 platformers. You know, I've beaten Super Mario 64, I've beaten Conker's Bad Fur Day, I enjoyed those. This is slightly different, but it is a rare title, so yeah. From all the feedback I've had about the Banjo game, certainly Banjo-Kazooie, I think this is going to be a good game and I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into it. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you've enjoyed the video, please whack a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out, helps put me into YouTube's algorithm. Drop a comment, let me know what you think of Pilotwings 64. Have you played it back in the day? Have you got any memories of Pilotwings 64? Or what do you think of Pilotwings 64 from what you've seen? If you're new to the channel or you've been watching the videos and not yet subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps the channel out, helps me feel like my content's been appreciated, and come along for the journey and see if I can beat all the other remaining 239 UK PAL N64 games. There's only 229 left to go now. Make sure you hit the bell notification as well so you get notifications when my next videos are live. And yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.